Among my favorite things when it comes to this platform known as YouTube, besides being able to make content, live stream games, and hang out with my viewers, subscribers, fans, friends, members, another thing I love is the content made by other creators. And there's a variety of channels out there. A lot of awesome, interesting channels, educational channels. There's also some channels that I'd like to avoid, like the plague.
Go away. What? Go watch your linear entertainment. Go watch porn. Just go away.
Shit.
Fuck you. What the fuck?
Disrespectful little asshole.
The other night, Riley and I were binging through a few different channels. We've been watching some crash videos, some dash cam videos, thieves caught stealing, as well as some parents, specifically dads, getting a little angry with their kids for too much gaming, to the point where they would end up destroying their kids' console, controllers, keyboards, laptops, computers, TV monitors. And I had a few thoughts about that I would like to share. For one thing, I think that parents that actually do this are going a little too far in the punishment. I understand that there are kids out there that are disobedient to their parents, and you tell your kid to wash the dishes, do the chores, do your homework, and no matter how many times you tell your kid, they don't listen. I feel like destroying the console or their computer is not the right way. Yeah, I do believe that it should be taken from them and held until they turn their shit around. Maybe worst case scenario, you put it up for sale. You sell it on eBay, or you sell it in the Facebook marketplace. Just hold on to it until your kid either A, gets their act together and starts doing better in school, or they start doing better at tending to the chores, washing the dishes, mowing the lawn, whatever it is you have them doing that's really ticking you off. And then eventually, as a reward for good behavior, then return the console to your kids. One other thing I did notice while watching some of these videos, some of them seem very realistic, obviously. Kids having to record their angry fathers overreacting and destroying various bits of technology. There was one incident where this kid got a brand new smartphone and he dropped it. He only damaged it a little bit, but then his dad, I guess his dad was like working really long hours. He comes home and his son tells him that he broke his phone, and then the dad overreacts, in my opinion, taking his son's brand new phone that he bought for him and destroys it, literally. I feel like that was a very bad take by that father. I think that probably was a real incident. I feel like, however, that there's been quite a few of these videos out there of angry dads destroying various things like keyboards, consoles, computers. I think a lot of them are fake and are scripted between father and son. Some of them seem really obvious that I guess they're meant to be parodies or satire. But then there's some that I think they tried to make it seem legit. But you have these ongoing series of a specific son and a specific father constantly having these interactions where the son's playing on his PlayStation 4. His dad gets angry. He destroys it. His son's playing on his friend's PS4. And his dad decides to destroy this big giant TV. It's an older TV, but this is just one of many examples. And I think there's like 2 or 3 other videos I saw of a similar formula, plot, theme. And so you sit back wondering, well, why would the dad allow himself to be filmed over and over again and posted on YouTube unless he's just completely unaware of it, oblivious to this fact that he's becoming quote-unquote famous or infamous. I just feel like that a lot of these so-called recorded incidents of parents overreacting to their kids, whether they're not doing well in school or skipping school or not doing their chores, and as a result they've decided to destroy various electronics that their kids own, I feel like a lot of them are probably fake. Now, there's obviously real ones out there, and I think the real ones are what inspired the fake ones. Some of them are actually done quite well. There was one where there was this dad. I'm not going to put videos up. I mean, you probably could go watch the videos on YouTube. They're all over the place. Where this dad, walks in. He's a pretty built dad. And, he's walking in with a pizza. And it's obvious that the dad's trying to act, and the kids are all trying to act. And the dad acts like he's angry because the kid's trying to speed run, I think, Simpsons Hit and Run. and then he breaks the keyboard of all things. I think it was the keyboard he broke. And he throws the box of pizza on the ground. He steps on it. Obviously, the box was probably empty. There was no pizza in that box. Why would a dad do that? And it just seemed like the dad was just obviously overplaying it. And the video seemed that way as well, because then the dad started like going after some of the other kids. But this dad was built, though. I mean, he was in really, really good shape. So it seemed pretty fake. But it was funny at the same time. So I doubt that one was real. But there are, unfortunately, real incidents out there of parents caught in the act of, not exactly being very good parents. Not just when it comes to destroying kids' electronics, but other infractions as well caught on YouTube. And I think this is twofold. For one thing, today I feel like a lot of parents need to do a better job parenting. Some of them try to be their kid's friend. They spoil their kid. They may have not had as good of a life growing up when it came to being a kid, so they try to give their kid a little bit more than what they had, which is a good thing and a bad thing at the same time. I believe that it's nice to be able to treat your kid, to take care of your kid, but I feel like sometimes parents are guilty of over-spoiling their children at the cost of proper discipline and responsibility, because the parent is supposed to be that child's protector, the guardian, as well as the disciplinarian and the teacher. Their first teacher is their mom and dad, or their parents. And all too often, the fault of the kid not doing their homework or not doing their chores isn't entirely on the kid. It's also on the parent, because the parent, in my opinion, didn't do a good enough job making sure that their kid was constantly making good grades, studying hard, doing their homework, doing their chores, taking care of their responsibilities, chores, school, etc., before they can sit down and enjoy some gaming, whether on their PlayStation, Xbox, their Switch, or on their PC. So I feel like the parents, it's up to them to do a better job parenting. And that starts at the very beginning when the kid comes into this world. Obviously, you're going to take care of them. You're going to protect them. You're going to treat them like the most precious thing to you. But along the way, I feel like kids get spoiled too much. I feel like a lot of parents are afraid to discipline their kids. And I'm not talking about spanking your kids. I do feel like that should be an option. But like a last resort, I know a lot of people are against it. But at the same time, I feel like there's other degrees of punishment you could do. You warn your kid, you tell your kid not to do it. If their kid keeps doing it, then you ground them, you send them to their room. Or you punish them by making them do chores, or you take away their console or their smartphone. You don't simply destroy it, especially since you're probably the one that paid a few hundred or a few $1,000 for those consoles, smartphones, TV monitors, etc. That just doesn't make sense to me. That's just an act of insanity. Why would you destroy something you spent money on? If I had a kid, hypothetically, if I had a kid that was doing all this, and I hope they wouldn't, but I don't claim to end up being a great parent if I ever had a kid. I'm sure I'd make mistakes just like every other parent does, but I would do my best. But I would probably, at the very least, just take the console away from my kid or take away their smartphone if I found that they were not exactly doing a good job. If they weren't studying hard or making decent grades. I'm not expecting A's. I didn't make A's. There were times when I was lucky to make A and B's. So I'm not a perfectionist when it comes to that, because every kid has their strengths and weaknesses when it comes to education and school. Some are fully capable of making straight A's, and that's awesome. Congratulations. But there's some of us that suck at algebra. I'm great at history, though, and I was pretty decent at English. But at the same time, as long as my kids are making decent grades and passing grades and doing their best, then I would be proud of them. And as long as they were doing their chores, taking care of their responsibilities, then I wouldn't mind them to spend a few hours gaming. Now, I don't want them up all night gaming or up all night on their smartphone. That's not good either. So I think the issue here is parents need to be more involved in their children's lives. And I get it. Parents have their own lives too. They want to hang out with their friends. They want to unwind as well after, long weeks worth of work. And a lot of times them working, prevents them from being there in their kids' life as much as they would like to be. But at the same time, I do feel like the issue here is twofold. For one thing, kids have to take it upon themselves in the situation to become responsible. And I think that any kid out there that is struggling with these issues need to take it upon themselves. Maybe your parent isn't the best at disciplining you or best at parenting you. Maybe they're just doing the best they can. They're working one or maybe several jobs. They're trying to make money. They're trying to pay the bills. but at the same time, you have to think about your future. Your future is probably not in gaming. You're probably not going to become the next big content creator or streamer. If you do, well, good luck with that. But most of people out there are not going to become the next professional sports star or the next Hollywood actor or actress. Most of people out there growing up are going to end up going into various real-life careers. Some of you may become teachers or doctors or lawyers or custodians or mechanics, electricians, plumbers, etc. That's the reality of the situation. However, gaming is still fun to do. It's a nice activity. It's a great hobby. It's a form of escapism I've loved since I was a child. But at the same time, you have to focus on priorities. And the priorities are doing good in school or doing better in school, because you want to do good enough in school in order to give you opportunities for a better education. Whether you decide to go off to a junior college or a four-year college, it depends on what career path you want to take, or end up going off to a trade school, for example. You definitely want to think about your future, and too many kids don't really do that. And I think that's unfortunate, because your future is in front of you. The path is clear. It has not been written yet, in the words of Doc Brown from Back to the Future. You have the ability to write your future. Yeah, there are things that are going to happen that you can't control, but you got to take control of your life. And video games are not the way. They're not going to end up making you a career or tons of money. I mean, there's a few small percentage that'll end up like the next Ninja or Shroud or the next Dr. Disrespect. But the majority are not going to end up like that. It's just fun to play video games. I've always loved playing video games, and I know that a lot of you do too, but real life is important. So anyone out there that's a parent, please be more attentive to your kids. I'm sure some of you probably already are, and you've probably seen these videos, and they give you examples of how you do not want to be when it comes to being a parent towards your kids. And I'm sure most people that watch these videos that are parents are like, I would never destroy my kid's console or laptop, especially not laptops, because in this modern day and age, your laptops and even smartphones are used for schooling and education and writing up reports to be turned in. So that seems ridiculous as well, to destroy kids' laptops, computers, and smartphones, especially when you want to keep tabs on your kids. It's kind of crazy. Like, the very first cell phone I had was a bag phone that barely worked and was not very reliable. But kids today now have smartphones. It's insane. The point is, you just got to stay on top of that kid. You just got to make the point to that kid, look, if you want a better life for yourself, you got to do better in school. You got to study hard, and you got to focus, and you got to do your chores, because chores are important. Yeah, I remember being a kid. I remember not liking chores. Obviously, I still don't as an adult. Most of us don't. But I don't want to live in squalor. I don't want to live in a landfill. I want clean dishes. I want clean clothes. So I have to do these chores. These are just things that we have to do as responsible people. And you learn these skills even better when you start doing them at a younger age, whether it's becoming good at studying, doing homework, and paying attention in class, as well as doing chores and taking good care of yourself physically, health-wise, and mentally. So it is twofold. It's up to the parents, obviously, to do their part to ensure that their kids are taken care of, and the first lessons of their lives are learned by their parents, right from wrong, proper discipline enforced, while at the same time trying to be careful not to go from discipline to outright abuse, to kids eventually having to come to a realization, a self-awareness, that you have to make these decisions for yourself. Because eventually, kids, you're going to be kicked out of that nest. Now, I know there's birds still in the nest, unfortunately, in this day and age, because of the economy, because of job issues, and because of bad parenting. They've allowed their 20, 30, 40-plus-year-old bird to continue sitting in the nest. But most parents are going to send you out of the nest. And so you want to focus right now on preparing to take flight out of that nest when the time comes. When you go off to like college, or you start a job, or you go off to a trade school, whatever you end up doing with your life, you need to make those preparations as soon as you become self-aware of the fact that education is important, that doing chores is important, responsibility is important, learning is important. And learning is not just in school. You're learning about things every single day. Every day I try to learn something new, even if it's a small thing. Sometimes it's a big thing I learn. But at the same time, life is one big learning experience. And the lesson here that I want to put out there for all of you is that it is important to have parents being parents, not friends. Eventually, kids got to start growing up. And it's up to kids in a lot of circumstances to come to that self-awareness, that realization that your parents are not going to always be there for you, because we have this life and death cycle. We're born, we grow up, and if you're lucky enough to live to an old age, well, congratulations. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't. And a lot of that's because of terrible decisions that people make in their lives that lead to, an early death. So you have to think about your future. And eventually, it's going to come down to you, and your parent isn't going to be there for you. Whether or not you just get to that point where you're an adult and your parent's like, okay, I did my best for you. You're on your own now. Good luck with your life. I hope you succeed. But if you don't, well, did my best. You can soar above the nest and fly even higher if you motivate yourself to do better and be better. So at the same time, it is not all on your parents. Eventually, it gets to that point where it becomes your responsibility, resting on your shoulders, to go from being a kid to being an adult. And I realize we live in the 21st century, and a lot of us struggle being adults. Okay, that's just a reality. We don't have it as hard as people did, say, a century ago or several centuries back. We're lucky by those standards. The time will eventually come where you have to take self-responsibility and you have to become an adult, and you have to push forward, and you have to realize that, yes, it's fun to play video games. Escapism is great and all, but that isn't going to pay the bills. It's not going to put a roof over your head. That's not going to get you that life you want, the car you want, everything else you want, besides a gaming console and the new games and a nice sweet monitor. Now, maybe that's all that you want in your life. Maybe that's all you desire, which is good. If all you want is gaming and just a one-bedroom apartment to do gaming, then that's cool too, but you're still probably going to have to go out there and have some level of responsibility and education in order to have a job, in order to pay for that apartment and pay for the bills, in order for you to come home and do some online gaming or single-player gaming. So either way, it is up to you eventually to get out of your parents' shadow, take your own self-responsibility, do better in class, do better in homework, learn chores, because most of you out there are not going to be able to hire a butler or maid to clean your pad, your home, your crib. You're going to have to do it yourself, just like I have to do. So take the initiative now while you have the opportunity. In the end, it really does come down to both the parent and the child in order to lead towards a successful formula. The parent has to be there. They have to parent. They have to discipline. They have to be their first teacher and provider. But eventually, the kid themselves, as they grow up, are going to have to learn responsibility. And at the end of the day, the sooner you become responsible for education, for chores, for your own personal health and hygiene, and thinking about your future and focusing on exactly what you want to do with that future, the better you have a chance of succeeding in life post-childhood. And parents, no matter how pissed off you get at your kids, and I realize that can happen, do not destroy their consoles and smartphones, monitors, and keyboards. There's a better way. Simply just take it from them and say, look, you can't have it until you do better. Give them a list of chores they have to do every day. Tell them, look, I'm going to talk to your teachers. I'm going to expect you to do better. You start making better grades. You start studying hard. You start showing up to class. You start doing your chores, or you're not going to get your consoles. You're not going to get your smartphones. Don't destroy them. At the very least, if the kid doesn't, reform and still continues to not study or do hard or do chores, sell the damn thing instead of destroying it and getting nothing out of it financially. Take the money and spend it however you wish. Invest it, put it in your bank account, use it to pay off some debt, or use it to take the spouse out to a nice dinner, or reward one of the good kids if you happen to have more than one kid. Either way, it's going to teach that one kid a very valuable lesson. If you continue to be disobedient and a slacker and not doing good in school or their chores and continue to disobey your parents, then you're going to pay for it. Maybe, just maybe, that reality will finally sink into that kid and might just be a turning point in their life and eventually turn them back on the right path. But at the end of the day, at least you can say you tried and you didn't end up literally throwing away money by destroying that console, monitor, keyboard, controller, smartphone, Which is not only insane, it's also a waste of money and a very bad example for a parent to set as a supposed responsible adult. Anyways, your thoughts, your views, your opinions regarding these angry parent videos. I know they've been out for a while. I think some of them are real. I think a lot of them are like satire parodies, scripted, fake. Do you think that destroying a kid's console or smartphone electronics is a proper form of punishment, or just a little extreme, maybe even on the form of abuse? Feel free and let me know below in the comments section.